Okay, so what I've done is I've downloaded the Jim's Arcade folder and saved that to my hard drive, and that Jim's Arcade folder is available for download on the multimedia resource file site with these videos. So all I did was I actually managed my site to be the Jim's Arcade site, and you can do that by going to Site Manage Sites, and you could do a new one. And if I go in and have a look, all I did was I saved my file, called it Jim's Arcade, and set my computer to put it in that folder. So now just be aware that in this case I've put my Jim's Arcade folder inside the exercises folder where I've got my other stuff, which is not the best option because we're just doing exercises. It doesn't really matter too much in this case. It should be fine, but generally you'd have them set up, separately. So, but you can see there that I've got all my images located. So it means I can start to actually work with them. So I'm just going to show you how to add images and create them into links, and then on further ones I'll show you how to turn them into rollover buttons, and also actually how to work with your formatting a little bit more, just to give it a nicer look. So today is just about uh, grabbing some of those images and really just placing them in the document and showing how they work. So the first thing is pretty easy. You can drag and drop. So if I've got my Jim's banner.gif here, and remember that in the last ones that we've done, you've seen how to create your own banner images and save them as GIFs and JPEGs depending on the format and what suits them better. So you can always create your own images for this exercise or for consecutive projects that you're working on based on what you've learnt. But for this case, we're just going to drag some of these in. So I've got Jim's banner.gif. I can just drag it in. Be aware that if you start to drag in stuff before you save it, it's going to come up with a little alert box. And you can see here that it's always better to actually save. And I'll show you in a sec, so I'll just delete this. It's always better to go in and do a save as, and actually save your file first before you start dragging in any images or creating any links, because it means that then it's going to create your link as a relative link in the right way. Until you actually tell it where the file's located, it doesn't know what the location of that file is in order to create a relative link pointing to the right spot. So it has to put a full absolute link linking to the exact spot on your hard drive, which isn't what you actually want for when you finish up. So it's always a good idea to save your file first. So in this case, I'm going to create my home page, which of course is going to be called index. Save it. Now I can start to drag in a banner. Once we start dragging images, it's going to want to ask us to add some alternate text. And what that means is that if you've ever been on a page and an image hasn't loaded, either because you've told it not to or because it hasn't worked for some reason, you might see inside that box, if it's left the dimensions of the size of the image but just a box there, sometimes you'll see that there'll be some text inside that box, and that's what this is. It's just a little bit of a description of what that image is, and it would appear if we can't see the image for some reason. And it might be because it's not loading, or because we've turned off loading images, but also for anybody who uses a screen reader. So anyone who's blind and uses a screen reader to access web content, it's really important to add these sorts of things in to make your website accessible for people with disabilities. So we always recommend adding some alternate text. So in this case, I'm just going to put Jim's Arcade banner logo, something like that. Doesn't really matter as long as it's a good description. And if you're not sure or you decide that you want to change it later, click on your image and you can change it down here in your properties bar under Alt. It's pretty straightforward. Now I'm going to hit return. I'm going to start to add some of my buttons in. So I've got home, games and about. So again, I can put home link and games link, drag it in, and about link. There we go. So there's my images set up. I can give it a title just to make it look all nice. And now that I've got the beginnings of my site, it's always a good idea, firstly, to save your page. And I'm just hitting Control S. Just be aware that Once you set out your template or the way you want your page to look, generally for most websites you're going to reuse that same kind of template for subsequent pages. So if I decided I'd laid out my page the way I wanted it, put in my links, put in my banner, instead of having to redo all that content each time for each new page that I do, best thing is to do it for your index once. Don't worry about your content, just get your formatting and your, any of those, banner and links in that you're going to keep reusing in terms of top navigation bars, anything that you would reuse on other pages. Save it in that index page, and then you can just go up, do a save as. And I can call this one games and the next one about. And I want to make sure first, before I do that, that I actually create links to each of those pages, because then I don't have to redo that. So here I'm going to do index.html. Make sure I've got a dot in there. And again here, games.html and about.html. So it means now I've got buttons that'll work as a menu bar. I don't want to keep that little blue border around each of my images, so what I'm going to do is actually click on each of those and take the border off. The border occurs when you create your images as links. So it's like when you make text as a link, it adds a little blue underline underneath it. Here it's going to add it, as a border on your image, which we don't want. So we've got homes, games, about. They've all got links to them. So we can save that index page now, and because all that content's set up, means I can just do a save as, save each of those pages, and then I can, all those links are going to work. I just need to change the content for each one. So it's a really quick, easy way to do that. Create one page that you're happy with, that's got your main template, and then just keep reusing it for subsequent pages. And next up I'll show you how to actually create some better formatting, starting to add some content in, etc, etc.